This is going to be a follow-up video from the one I made the other day about the glutes and their function and movements that we can do to engage the glutes very well. And I was talking about two rules from anatomy in motion, and the first one was that the joints act and muscles react, and the second one was that the muscle lengthens before they contract. So with those two in mind, I'm going to show you two different ways that we can do lunges to get the glutes to fire and engage really well. And these sort of three-dimensional movements won't require you sitting on a foam roller or a ball to activate your glutes or anything like that. It's simply going to focus on taking the glutes through a lengthened position so that they don't have any option but to contract. I'm going to start with the one from the side. So by now we know that the glutes, for them to contract well, they go through into extension, external rotation and abduction of the hip, which means that we want to go into the opposite to start with, or at least somewhat opposite. So what I'm going to do here, you have your lunge position. I'm going to utilize the flexion of the hip to come back into extension and get the glutes really firing up. So I do my lunge, but instead of normally just go up and down like this, I'm going to flex at the hip. So I'm going to move down and I'm going to really lean forward so that I am lengthening the glutes here, and then I'm going to push back here. So I'm going to flex at the hip so that the glute doesn't have an option but to contract when you go back. So you go here and then you push back. So that's one variation that you can do, and hopefully that will get your glutes firing well. But this is another option that you have as well, which takes the abduction, adduction and internal external rotation into account a bit more. So I'm going to show you from the front on this one. So you get into your lunge position, and then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hike a little bit on this side. So I get into adduction, because we know that the glutes action for shortening and contracting is abduction. So I'm going to hike this one, so I get into adduction. And then as I go down, I'm going to also rotate towards the front leg. So I go into internal rotation, and this will then lengthen the glutes. I'm going to do rotation about 45 degrees to the side like this before I go back. So I'm going to hike, rotate, press back up. Here. Here. Because as I said in the previous video, we want to lengthen the muscle before we go into a contracted position, because it means that it doesn't have an option but to actually contract. If we lengthen, we go completely the other direction from where it will contract. So we'll lengthen and then it will go into contraction a bit easier. So try out these movements. I wouldn't start with the same weight as you would normally do with lunges or anything like that. Start by doing them with body weight only. Get used to them, see how they work for you, play around with it a little bit before you put some weights on. And please comment below and let me know how you go.